everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron for the New Order as America. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, we have started our invasion of the Dominican Republic, the Dominican Revolutionary Front. They're doing pretty well. I mean, the ceasefire has been called. Trujillo is dead, and currently Joaquin is currently in charge of the country, but we've already told him that he sucks and we don't like him. So, the war will continue any day now, assuming that he doesn't step down. Aside from that, the war in Madagascar is still going on, and there also has been a flare-up of tensions in the Philippines. Now, is there anything we can do about that right now? Morale's going to lower in 18 days. We don't have any other ongoing operations. 3 days has passed since the Blitz began. Escalate the war. This will alienate the Huks in the north, preventing us from engaging in a potential future cooperation with them. Okay. What are we doing right now with you? It is the cargo holders. Okay, they'll be there soon. So, I mean, overall things I think are looking good for us in most cases. For one action, I would like to do another local reconnaissance for this area. Again, I don't know what we need to actually control it. We're at 71%. Do we need it to be past 75? For it to be considered ours? I'm not too sure. And how is factionalism, by the way? How are people feeling about America in the uprising? 69%, baby. Those are numbers we love to see. Tensions. Okay, preparedness of 25. We want to get that as high as we possibly can. Tensions will increase. Like, no matter what, tensions are going to go up. Send them tanks. I mean, I would love... Yeah, send them fucking tanks. Hell yeah, buddy. If it blows up into open conflict again, I am willing to do whatever is needed. Tension's going to increase in 1 day. 10 days until the morale is going to lower, but we'll get these done soon. Razak has won the Malay elections. Out go the Japanese. In comes the OFN. The first election of Malaya has since the end of the war is concluded, and it seems that, thankfully, our favorite candidate has come out on top. Abdul Razik Hussain has managed to win the hearts and minds of the people. Now he sits at the top of the nation, ready to implement his rebuilding plans. A conservative, Razak is exactly the kind of man we want in charge. A moderate, amiable to the OFN. He seems to be dedicated to rebuilding a nation, something that it doubtlessly needs given the devastation caused by the war. Razak's victory comes off as the best case scenario for us. He is, unlike his opponent, quite palatable to our interest, and he will without a doubt cooperate with us in the near future and the far future. As we're already in talks with him with Malaya to join the OFN as an observer, it is obvious that his victory secured his status as country as an American ally. However, we're not entirely done Malaya yet. It is near guaranteed entry in the OFN comes for the need for economic and humanitarian aid, as we obviously cannot let Razak and the Malayan people deal with devastation of the country themselves. While such an endeavor may prove costly, it is an opportunity for us. That funneling money and resources to Malaya, we can make sure that they stay a reliable ally to us no matter what happens. Federation Malaya becomes a part of the American sphere. Support for the RDC will increase. Malaysia will become known as the Federation of Malaysia. And then now, our lovely OFN partner. Look at this guy. Look at you guys go. Very happy to see it. Is that required us to do something in the intelligence tab then? No, it's just Germany. I'm surprised we don't have anything to deal with Japan. We're going to try to stabilize them. They just had their economic crisis a little while ago, so I think this is good for us. We can at least try. But I'm happy to have an ally. I mean, holding Singapore is incredibly important, right? Like that is a crown jewel to have in our repertoire. Okay, cargo holders be done now. So what can we do? We can send a volunteer division to you. No, we cannot because it's not been 30 days. Give them equipment. How many days has it been? I'm guessing this was probably started at 30, so probably 23. Okay, let's supply the remnant fighters. We need the political power for that, as well as the command power. How much command power do we actually generate right now? We currently generate, I'm going to say 0.6. Hey, 0.75, actually, that's pretty nice. A Tale of Two Cities. The Olympic Committee is a far more brutal affair than most people would have believed. The entire world battled for the chance to spotlight for just a pair of weeks. But of course, most of the competitors were mere fluff. For the crew, contenders had already been narrowed down to two: Detroit or Mexico City. It was the final decision, and both of their champions were there to represent it. In the American corner lay car manufacturer giant and governor of Michigan, George Romney, and the Mexican corner lay none other than the president himself, Lopez Matias. Mr. President, it's a pleasure to meet you here. Romney greeted the Mexican rival with a firm handshake. Matthew's translators were kind enough to begin his work the best that he could. Governor Romney, I've heard a lot about you these past few days. Or perhaps it would be best to say I've heard quite a lot about Detroit. The president joked of the eminent wide white smile plastered on his face. Romney seemed a little less thrilled about it. I've heard quite a lot about Mexico City as well. If I'm honest, I've heard quite the troubling things. Are you sure the Olympics being held there would be safe for the athletes? I've heard a lot about the altitude. Romney tried his best to explain himself, but the translator didn't let him finish or filling in metos with what he had been said. The often jovial face of the president shifted into the opposite of one. A second later, every head in the packed room turned to see the source of the loudness shouting match heard in the last few days. Romney, Mateos, and the translators threw flurries of insults to the opposing party, never fully understood as they couldn't run out of breath. It took a while, over a minute, before both men tried not to get in, getting what the other said and walk away with smoke leaving through their ears. What, you want Mexico City? Look at Mexico City, population 5 million, GDP 4.83 billion, or Detroit 8.15, 16.43. Now I know this is all in Michigan, but the Upers aren't doing shit, right? Like they're not contributing to that number whatsoever. Okay, showdown in Uruguay. The Freedom Riders. The 15 riders gathered at the Greyhound terminal in Washington, D.C., waiting for the next bus. It has been years since the first Freedom Riders had stood there, knowing that they would be placing themselves at risk as they traveled into the segregated South. And trouble had followed their forebears every step of the way. Arrests in Virginia, the Carolinas, the Mississippi, before the horrendous beatings and arson attacks by the Ku Klux Klan in Alabama. A black man in his 30s turned into a white woman in her 20s, fidgeting next to him. Nervous? The woman nodded. I've got the training and everything, but nothing really prepares for what you see on the news. No, it doesn't prepare you. Not all the way, anyway. The man replied somberly before offering a burn-scarred hand. Name's Marlowe. Ask me anything. It's not my first time on the Freedom Ride. The woman gingerly took Marlowe's hand. April, she mouthed. She tried not to look at the scars. Why did you come back? Marlowe looked at his hands. The first time is scary, I know. Even if you know you're doing it for the right thing. He looked at the 12 people waiting alongside them. But after my first ride, I knew I had to come back for our brothers and sisters, fighting the good fight. We were never meant to travel alone. An investigation. For what feels like the first day in a long time, people are finally starting to breathe a little easier in the White House. The police investigation of the Republican Democratic headquarters break-in have concluded, and while the identity of the burglars have yet to be known, the concern was less of who they were and what they might have taken. While a number of file cabinets were ransacked during the break-in, a cross-reference to the indexes revealed that hardly any files were missing, only the ones that were gone related to some re-election campaign strategy in 1964, and thankfully those contained no mention of certain stunts pulled during the last election. The present paranoia of the NPB were just as ruthless as the fear is beginning to dissipate, allowing him and his staff to once again focus on the state of the nation and other more important matters. This chapter of Nixon administration has been closed, for now at least. And again, we have nothing here that we care about. It's just appease Ruther, which is for the Labor Democrats, which I don't want to do. Because we want to, if we can, somehow wiggle our way to getting the Labor Democrats to maybe side somewhat with the NPP, if that's possible. Okay, meeting with Cassin. That is for the Free French. I think we need to help out the Free British first. I think it just makes sense. By the way, how is our status here? That is lower, but GDP is not as high as they want it to be, and that's fine. Again, it's preferable for us for our GDP to not be where it wants it to be, because we do want to have the NPP lose. Weapon shipments. Anything else we can do here? Stabilize Japan. Did I actually succeed or did that fail? Actually, I don't think we actually got a pop-up. Yeah, let's do Operation Jewel. And do we have any points right now in Madagascar? We have 1. And we're still at 71. I mean, I'm going to do it. Strength's at 81. So we basically have 1 node at the moment, which is not incredible. Death of the Supreme Court Justice. That news is coming out of the wires. One of the senior-most justices of the U.S. Supreme Court has passed away. And conservative, they wrote several notable opinions throughout their tenure, both concurring and dissenting. In addition, they were the swing justice of more than one case. However, with a solemn moment comes an opportunity to change the balance of the highest court in the land. We'll have to get the right nominee and manage the Senate process carefully, but if we succeed, it'll be a major victory for administration. Well, I like how they don't even... I'm actually kind of surprised they don't actually even throw out a name there for who it might be. Seems very uncharacteristic of the New Order to not actually have anything there. We have 11 points. infantry equipment, plant mines. Potential increase. It'll make their forces less powerful. What's some generic decisions? Humanitarian pro-intervention is more 18. You know what? Yes, I will take this. Operational strength increases by 5. Increases by 4. Man pads, AA guns. Well, let's send infantry equipment first. Preparation at 25. Tension at critical. Let's do a humanitarian offensive, see if we can maybe lower that a little bit, because we want to try to buy some more time. I think we have 3 months until the ceasefire is officially over, but I'm assuming one side is able to break it. Operational failure. Well, I guess you can't win them all, can you? Okay, is there anything we can do? If we can send some supply fronts as mobilization, yes. Deterioration. Robert Graham Minor, U.S. Ambassador to the West Indies Federation, read the report in front of him with a growing sense of alarm and trepidation. Reports of violence against members of the current ruling party, which the Prime Minister of Jamaica belongs, are increasing daily. If current tensions increase, the trend continues, every reason to expect potential outbreak of widespread political violence on the island. He threw it down and grabbed his phone. Thankfully, the Prime Minister would be able to clarify the situation, and provide much needed assurance that it was under control. After a brief dial tone, the phone was picked up not by the Prime Minister, but by his secretary. I'm sorry, Ambassador Minor, but the Prime Minister is visiting his member of the Interior, who I am sure you know has just been sent to the hospital. Would you like to leave a message by any chance? Robert shook his head. No, thank you. I think it can wait. And as he said that, he was already planning a trip to Kingston to confer personally with the Prime Minister. As Robert passed by the cabinet, his eyes fell on a .38 revolver with 6 bullets left in it. He abhorred violence, but it galled him beyond belief that he had to consider it. Despite this, he took the gun and holster and put the bullets in place where he could easily access them. Who is he planning on shooting? Okay, well, it looks like the ceasefire has immediately broken. Ceasefire expires in 58 days. Tensions increased. They shall not grow old. Martha Smith had been counting the days since her son had gone off to Russia. That land is so wild and untamed, brimming with the slobbering tyrants and bloodthirsty bandits. She had not heard a word from him in months since his last letter. Even as the great land was being brought to heel by half a dozen or so tyrants now left, their states established bonds with the land of the free. She still didn't get much word of the news on the state of her boy. Now, as she marked another tally on the secret journal under her bed that she was sure Ernest didn't know about, she placed her hands in her hands and began to tearlessly sob. She had simply run out of the first month after she began this nightly routine. Gulping down the glass of wine on her nightstand, she slid the journal back under the bed. Ernest was working late, or so she had been told, and so she had dedicated the hours between his call and work at 7 a.m. to his return home for her to grieve. Her suffering is cyclical, as she always awaits closure that simply never will come. Ernest was not working late. Clearing trash off the dashboard of his old beat-up truck, he searched for the letter he had recovered last time he was working late, scouring the old main for any kind of news from Russia about his son. He'd only once grabbed closure after an endless night of searching for something to placate his suffering. A communique from a Russian citizen from the city called Harbin, writing to an American cousin of his about how he had just seen Americans pass through. That was it. Part of the few letters had gotten. This was all that was left of his son in the paper. The famously stoic, hardworking man cast the letter aside as he was strained with tears, and he laid his hand on the steering wheel to cry. His journey never ended for those who loved him. Well, the Dominican Civil War has once again started up. Can I send volunteers? Like just one American division in well, I mean, they do have 2 tanks over here, so that seems pretty nice. Preparedness at 40. These have all completed. What does this military preparation? It's at 30%, 10 HP. Military preparation is worse for you. I don't know if these will have any impact on their fighting here. Air Assault 3 is now finished. Let me intervene. Let me send you like a plane or something, man. Okay, 64. We can take infantry weapons. You're all 65 techs. You know what? 1945 Mountaineering Division sounds good to me. I mean, if you just take like the capital, I'm assuming that would be quite nice. I would love to have a capital under my under our belt. There's nothing to do right now in Dominica. It just has to run its course. Send the Flying Tigers. Let us send a military advisor. That'll be ready in immediately. And then coordinate local uprisings. We have 1 point. So this will give us 400 local uprisings. 50% strength. Yes, do that. Hey, we control it. They declare war and disconnect settlements of Madagascar. Okay, so the war over there is now absolutely popping off. Does this count as a point? Doesn't say yet, so I'll do that. So you guys are now at war. Okay, can I send you volunteers? The answer currently is no. Calming the Red Ghost. After various attempts of reaching, let alone finding a man in charge of the People's Democratic Armed Forces, our operatives have been able to make contact with the elusive head of the Socialist Rebel Group, Amir Sujafrodin. Despite the PDAF's evident need for our support, Sujafrodin has been quite skeptical in accepting any form of proposition from us, no doubt because of his ideological background. We may be able to persuade him by presenting him a concrete aid of the UAMJF in Malaya to ease any doubts of our commitment. We will report any further developments when they arise. Okay, so we can send a volunteer troop to the Philippines. What are you guys? Are you the ones with helicopters? Yes, you are. We'll send one of these bad boys. Burton, congratulations. You're going to send volunteers here. We can send an air wing as well. Excellent. Do you even have any... Okay, we want somebody who has ground support capabilities. These are missiles. Okay. You guys, for now, you're going to prepare to bomb the Philippines. Now, our allies do have a lot of units, but the Japanese have been supporting them. Hopefully, the socialists in the north can maybe get something good working there. Also, I did see in the map modes, there's something I saw between videos. We can look at buildings here. And we can see that Illinois is basically like... I don't know what's going on with Illinois, but it basically sucks ass. So we're going to try to improve Illinois and Ohio with some schools. Let's get those going there. Excellent. So our volunteers will be there on the 2nd of June. Crude. The Jones of Madagascar buzzed with life around the German compound, isolated as it was. With nothing more than a wood cabin and 3 posts with a arm attached to each of the yard outside. The outpost was Spartan. Nothing, but not useless to the Germans. Of all 3 men, Stephen was whining the loudest and the most. Fuck, man. We're not even supposed to be here. We got caught? What are we supposed to fucking do? The trio even tied to a lashing post, though there were only 2 guards present. The third was driven off to fetch reinforcements to deal with the special guest. Carol, the eldest of the 3, an operative of the CIA since long before Stephen was even born, sat gagged and bound in the heavy jungle heat. He could handle the heat, the bugs, even the gunshot wound burning away at his shoulder. What hurt him most was that he could not tell Stephen to shut the fuck up. John, the local expert, whinged at Stephen's complaining. Christ, man. Do you think crime's going to fix this? Because it won't. I bet they'll trade us back to the States in no time. That's what always happens with guys like us, right, Carol? John asked. He knew the answer was no. Yet, he nonetheless hoped for any solution that might give his ears a rest. Relief for them, not for the State Department. Okay, I still can't do anything with you. Foreign policy. Airdrop weapon caches. Wait, did I already get... When did I get strike 2? I don't remember getting a second strike, but I can't do anything with Malaysia right now. I've got a sinking feeling that the Germans are probably going to end up winning in Madagascar. Because I'll be honest, I don't even know what the Japanese are up to. I know Japan has an interest in the area, but I don't know if they're actually going to do anything meaningful. Swarmed. He'd done the best he could, thought White House Press Secretary Herb Klein glumly. For weeks, he managed to keep the whole Madagascar business out of the national press through a combination of promises, threats, and stalling tactics. He told the San Francisco Chronicle that they'd been barred from the White House press corps and begged the New York Times for 2 weeks to preserve national security. Finally, though, the Washington Post had broken. There were pictures of American soldiers in handcuffs on the front page. The president had re-aimed into him and demanded a press conference to control the narrative. All right, said the pale-faced Klein for swarming reporters. Let's all settle down, and there's a buzzing of voices from the crowd. Massive limbs held under microphones and recording equipment. Lights flashed within their bulbs and appeared like eyes of some terrible insect. I have a statement. I have a statement from the president. If you'll all just settle down and be decent, please. There were more buzzing, but slowly, the voices began to dissipate. Thank you. He said when the room was regained composure. President Nixon wishes to emphasize that this is his first priority. As always, is to ensure that all Americans are safe. While he cannot comment on matters of national security, his current focus is on getting these boys back safely. In the meanwhile, we urge the media not to use these men's status as political ammunition. The president is deeply concerned by irresponsible and reckless reporting, and a great amount of speculation has been seen in place of traditional journalism. There was a rumble of outrage. Klein began talking faster. Once these men are home and safe, we begin the long and hard process of figuring out how they got there. Until then, the president has no further statements. So wait, was me clicking on that extra bonus that was like give them supplies that didn't list that it was a strike? Was that a strike? That's my best guess for what happens. But hey, we got our Filipino volunteer. Let's send you here. Again, we can't do anything in Dominica. How bad is Japanese bombing? Against Rising Sun, the attack bonuses against Japan. Army of Freedom, American remnants. If not dealt properly, this remnant can improve detriment to our government structure. Okay, foreign policy. Aid from West Point. I mean... Okay, 5 days till you. I'm not going to actually worry about any of you right now. Because we can actually send volunteers here directly, that is going to give us a stronger hand. The most mundane hunt. The one time the fat bastard goes for a walk, Joe muttered to himself, nearly running down the hallways of State Department HQ. Joe was reminded of the feeling that he would often endure when searching for his brothers at the bar to bring them home for the night in a childhood long past. Even now, he mused, Joe was forced to search through small groups of reprobates or depressed shambling boozers to find someone to save from the groups. Only this time he did so because he cared for the man, and not because he had to. The crowds of men and women were all huddled around list of names, kept an ad hoc list around the office. That afternoon, dozens of State Department employees were marched out of their offices or cubicles and given 10 minutes to pack up what amounted to occasionally decades worth of careers. Needless to say, the word has gotten out. List of, effectively, deceased were drawn up by the secretaries who had made note of those who were let out. Joe had been yelling about to find Andy somewhere among the throngs of people on their lunch break, trying to cover which of their co-workers were gone in the wind. Over here, Joe, somebody yelled in the biggest crowd, pushing forward to the center. Joe began to hear a man who called out to him over the conversation. Not scheduled. These firings just don't happen. Kennedy, that piece of shit, tragic. Goddamn, Joe. The voice called out. Mr. Abigail, over here, please. Joe began to cut through the crowd with a voice. Upon inching closer, Joe realized that it was one of his subordinates, naturally a luckier one who was calling to him. Mr. Abigail, I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. I know you and Andy were close. It just cuts too deep. He said he looked genuine sadness. Immediately, Joe realized what had happened. Another casualty of cleaning one's hands. But I will say, with that all done, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoyed, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.